Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Marvel / Sony episode of Iron Panther Presents. Today, we're going back to the Spider-Verse as we talk about Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Just came out this weekend. I saw it once. I think Chris saw it twice, I do believe.
Twice,
Jamani, how many times?
I never do that.
One time.
All right. Did everyone see the first one?
Oh yeah.
Jamani,
You didn't see the first one, Jamani?
No, I didn't.
Oh, this is gonna be interesting, man. This will be actually interesting. Were you confused then?
I was, and then I was,
Gwen
and then I was very disappointed at the end
because you were like, well, let's talk about it. So anyway,
spoilers, y'all.
You saw it. You saw it twice. What'd you think?
Oh man, I gotta say, anyone who knows my take when it comes to just superheroes or whatnot, they pretty much know there's like two heroes I can't stand. One on the Marvel and DC side, one being Batman. I find him overrated, and I've already beat the horse to death already. With why I can't stand Batman. The other one being Spider-Man, right? I find his story overly done and whatnot. However, when I deployed back in 2018, I only saw I heard they had the animated version of Into the Spider-Verse, the first one. And the only reason why, and so they had it at the USO, right? The only reason why I saw it, because it was like, it's free. So I was like, that's the reason why I was like, all right, so I'll watch it. And I got out of that theater thinking like, damn, that movie was really good. And I had to restate different things and be like, no, it wasn't Spider-Man I don't like. Maybe it's just Peter Parker I just don't like. Maybe I'm just like, it's him. Because I saw that movie, I was like, that movie was fire. What? Yeah. Soundtrack, everything about it was just great, right? And then that little tease at the end, because I did know about Spider-Man 2099 that they did with Miguel. And then he was like really probably one of the only few Spider-Mans that I can actually stand, because it's not Peter Parker, but it's Miguel. And lo and behold, it took 5 years to do this film. And I loved it. I loved it. If anything, I would probably say, as far as all the Sony Marvel properties that Sony has created, I would argue say this is probably the best one that Sony has created.
I said
Sony.
I said take it to the next. I take it to the next level. I said this is the best. Period. I said because Tom Holland is a co-star in his own movies. Just because I think because of the rights of the characters. Like MCU cannot make a standalone Spider-Man movie. Like they have to put in a character that.
No. I wasn't. No. Don't get it twisted. I think this is the best Spider-Man movie by far. No, what I'm saying is this is the best superhero Sony film.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm not. No, I'm talking. Okay, yeah, okay. The reason why I didn't say that and MCU was because MCU there's some films that I kind of had to be like, wait, nah, I did like Winter Soldier like a whole lot, like, you know what I mean? Infinity Wars and whatnot. But yeah, this film was amazing. I mean, I don't even know where to start. Just how artistic everything looked. Visuals were just incredible, right? I was blown away, mostly just like even like when we first start with Spider-Gwen, and just how, just like in the comic book origins, everything's like is washed out coloring and whatnot. You see all the arguments she has with her father and whatnot. They kept it true to who that comic book is. But then all of a sudden we go to Indian Spider-Man and his version of it. And then we get to Spider-Punk, which I thought, in my opinion, stole the entire movie. You know what I mean? Daniel Kaluuya. I was like, yo, that's Daniel Kaluuya's voice and whatnot. Heavily Cockney accent though. You know what I mean? I just loved it, and just how they visually all put it together in there. Even putting Spider-Rex. I was like, they put freaking Spider-Rex, the T-Rex, the one-off comic book that even Madam Web, when she's like looking at origins and looking at the before time area with the T-Rex of how he became with Spider. It's supposed to be a joke. It is a joke comic, but it's like a meteorite comes down that's full of radioactive spiders. Don't ask questions. But a meteor hits him and this pterodactyl as they're fighting. The pterodactyl becomes like hobgoblin-esque thing. So he becomes like a purplish thing and pterodactyl. right? And the other one has like spider stuff. So he starts hopping around with spider webs around branches and whatnot. It means nothing, but I appreciate them even putting that in this film. That all of this stuff was just so much fan service. Scarlet Spider, I would say is probably one of the best Spider-Mans they created. He was in it. They made him a little bit of a dumbass in this one, but whatever. And just the representation overall, I thought was really great. Even putting, like I said, Indian Spider-Man, putting him in it, and even the soundtrack they have for everything fit very well from the very beginning to Miles and Gwen's first date-esque while they're swinging through the music. I don't know. I mean, probably not a date really, but you know,
closest thing they're going to get to it for a while.
Yeah. So I thought that was good. There was times I thought it was really slow. At times, really slow, mostly with the family element stuff going on. However, I did find it very strong, especially with his mother, Miles's mother, with a lot of speeches they had. I felt like there's certain things that maybe did not have to change the mood a little bit, but I understood why they did it in a way. The villain Spot surprised the shit out of me. I remember seeing him in the trailer and just being like, he's a jokester character. Like everyone has that jokester villain and whatnot. And then you realize that as the movie progresses, he's more of a threat than anybody even ever anticipated. And he becomes more scary. And I was like, oh shit. So very rare that you have a film that maybe is just as good as the precursor or even better, and that's what this was. Like you said, I saw it twice. Most of I think is because there's times I was laughing and I missed jokes, and also because I saw it in IMAX both times. But I saw it in IMAX, and one of the critiques I had, and I thought it was just the theater I was at until I saw it at a different theater, and it was the same thing. Was at times because of the music overlay, it was so maybe too loud that the dialogue sometimes gets drowned out. Not necessarily with Miles's character, but like for example, when you get introduced to Hobbs, Hobby, Spider-Punk, for example, and at times with Gwen, there are certain times that you can't understand what they're saying because there's like music going on in the foreground. You're just like, okay, that's a little loud. I missed it or whatever. So, but yeah, I thought like Jamani was saying, that clip we said before we started filming this, the cliffhanger at the end, both times in the theaters, both times the crowd was like, oh, like it was loud, like nothing just faded to black. You see Miles facing off against Miles and whatnot, and it just said to be continued. People like, oh shit, really? You know what I mean? That's how it's mission accomplished when that's the audience reaction. When the audience wants more and they're not like, okay, let me get the hell out of here. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's great. Oh, and also appreciate them putting Lego Spider-Man and even having Donald Glover in this, which is the inspiration to Miles Morales to begin with. So I thought that was amazing. You put the inspiration of why Miles Morales was created in the first place and put him in it, and having him as Prowler, which was he was supposed to be in Homecoming in a way, you know what I mean? All of that stuff, just a lot of fan service stuff, So if you can't tell by now, I thought this movie was great with small little nuanced stuff. So
thank you. Jamani, seeing this movie apparently, one time, what'd you think of Miles Morales and crew?
I thought it was a good movie. I thought that it was going to be like when I was a kid, I saw Batman Returns before I saw Batman. I thought it was one of those movies where it's just, you can just go in and see the sequel without having had seen the first.
The other one. I get you.
So I didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal to I had to go and research and find the first one before I go. So it was I just went in and saw it, and then I was the running time is all right. So a long movie. So it wasn't I was going to go back and watch the first one being just as long, and try to get all of it in that short amount of time over the weekend. But it was, the movie is a good movie. You will be lost if for the first 20 minutes, because the first 20 minutes is the is the continuation of the first movie. This movie doesn't start till 21 minutes in, I would say, when they get to Earth, whatever number, Brooklyn. That's like when I say this movie really starts. I did not necessarily get the ending. It was very was that Return of the Jedi-esque? It was like what, like that middle
Empire Strikes
movie.
Back.
Empire Strikes Back. Yeah, you don't feel Empire Strikes
Oh
Back.
yeah, Empire Strikes Back, the middle
Yeah,
movie. Yeah,
yeah.
it was like very like I thought we were winding down. We were getting to the bad guy show off, and the cavalry has come in, and no, this is just what like that.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, I see it.
But I wanted to know from you guys that are really into the comics and the folklore and the history and everything, right? Is this something that is newly introduced, or has this always been something that Miles Morales was an accident?
I don't know it like that. So I'll ask Chris.
No, he wasn't. I mean, he was not an accident. That's why it surprised me. I mean, but in his world, there was a Peter Parker. There's always been a Peter Parker in Miles's world, who was Spider-Man before him. So that's what if you saw the first movie, I would say that was very comic book accurate in the sense that he's got these powers that he just does not understand. And here's Peter Parker trying to teach him what it's like to become Spider-Man, right? So that part is real, but the whole thing about him being an accident was not, which is why I thought it was a creative choice in the first film. But if you saw the first one, Jumanji, you saw that spider like glitching or whatever, which if you saw the first one, like all the other Spider-Mans, because they're not from that world, they all glitch. That's why I was like, oh shit, that's why that spider was glitching this whole time. And it literally just said 42 on there.
Yeah.
And I thought it just meant he was the 42nd
Spider. He was the 42nd Spider in this.
Yeah, it's like, no, he's from Earth 42.
Earth 42. Bam!
Mind blown.
It's like,
so yeah. So that wasn't.
There's so many things that you got to go.
Oh, it was new. That was creative writing right there, Jumanji. That's what that was.
All of it. Because I felt the same way. Even about you're such a mistake that your Peter died because of you. Because Peter, if you ever go back and watch the first one, Jumanji,
you should. You should, by the way. That's good.
You definitely should.
You absolutely should.
He was jumping to save the day. He was jumping to take down the collider, and he saw Miles and went back to save him, and then he ends up dying. But it looks like Spider-Man's being Spider-Man. Like he saves the day, he saves the person who needs help, and then he tries his best, but this time he loses, right? Like he dies, but Miles picks it up. But if you think about it, if Miles wasn't there, Spider-Man would have been fine. And he would have walked away from it. So even that like weighs on Miles, that like as he's running and it's like you weren't supposed to be there and all this is your fault. And then if you go that far, his uncle dying is his fault because they were trying to chase him down because he's Spider-Man. So his uncle would still be alive if it wasn't for him. So like all the shit that happened to him.
And it being a world where there was no Spider-Man now. There's a world there's no Spider-Man.
42 Miles the 42 was supposed to be the Spider-Man of that world. But since he didn't become Spider-Man, he became the fucking Crawler. So like so it's like and all that's together. So and then it actually proves his dad right. That like your uncle is not a good influence. Because he was like your uncle's a criminal. Like I love him, but he's not who you should be. And you see what happens. You see what happens that when the dad is gone and it's just uncle, fucking Miles turns into a criminal. Like that's one message I took from that. To be like, what would your life be with your uncle and not your dad? Because in the first movie, he's all about his uncle. Like dad is just too hard on me, and he doesn't understand me, and like my uncle is my everything, really. And when he first becomes Spider-Man, he wants to talk to his uncle. And you don't, and the uncle kind of redeems himself, as in a way, but you see what happens. Like if it was almost like if he was left to his own devices, if it was just him and his uncle was again dad out the way.
Yeah.
I thought.
So
But
so yeah, because I was like, I kind of was able to, I guess they kind of put that in there for people maybe who hadn't seen it, or just to reiterate it with the Indian Spider-Man, because I was kind of like, you shouldn't have saved them, because that was the way that world was supposed to end up. And you keep changing all these universes.
So it's interesting. So with that point, I'm sure Chris knows, he does much more about the comic book canon than I do. I could definitely say that. But I like the fact that, even me not knowing, the fact that Miguel was like, there's canon events. To be a Spider-Man, certain shit needs to happen. You're going to lose an uncle. Like, there is a police captain that's going to die. These have to happen, or you can't be Spider-Man, and that fucks up everything else. Right. And I was like, I didn't even, and then they showed you the live action of the Sony movies. Like, that was awesome. Like, they tied in the movies. Like, this is not an accident. Like, what Miguel says is true. Look at this Spider-Man, and look at this Spider-Man that you already know. And I was like, oh man, like that's awesome. Even with I didn't like the Amazing Spider-Man. I thought Andrew Garfield was annoying. But when the police captain dies in that movie, I was like, all right.
Gwen's dad,
But then, like, they're like, it's all part of the process. Like, it does happen. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah. I thought that was a very clever device, because one of the things I could not, the only reason why I can't stand both Peter Parker and Bruce Wayne is because every single time, no matter how many Batman movies we get, we always have to be presented with the scene of his parents being murdered. Yeah. And how that shapes him to become Batman, and blah, 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 blah. And which was creative in Flashpoint, when there was a Flashpoint where it was where it was in reverse, where it was the kid, where Bruce Wayne was shot as a kid, and Thomas Wayne, like watching his son, he becomes Batman, who is much brutal right now, right? That's the problem I had with the Peter Parkers. And I was like, we know Uncle Ben dies, or Gwen's father dies, and blah, 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 blah. It's always the same thing. I felt like this movie was just kind of playing towards that. It was just playing towards, like, yeah, we know how this goes. So now we're going to, like, we're in on the joke. We're in on this, but we're going to make this serious. And I was shocked, because I was like, that shit actually works. I was like, I don't know. Because that's not, it's not like Spider-Man have to do that, but generally speaking, when it comes to a decent superhero storytelling, there's always tragedy with that. If not, then it's not a necessary. You don't really have a good story when it comes to superheroes. That's why a lot of people do like Spider-Man, and a lot of people do like Batman. Superman is a lost child of Krypton that's been destroyed. People, you know what I mean? All this stuff, everything that happens with the Flash, and the whole thing with his mother and his father going to jail for the rest of his life for something he did not do, and the whole thing, the turmoil he has to deal with his mother, and then his girl. All the big time superheroes all have huge tragedy and whatnot, and Spider-Man is no different. And I feel like having Miguel to be the one to say, hey, here's the canon events, you have to lose someone, and making that the plot, as far as saying, in order to set the world straight, the universe straight, you have to let your father be promoted and let the events play out. And I was like, wow, that's bars.
I felt like I was watching The Last of Us.
What?
Yeah, in a way.
Yeah, I was like, when he was fighting everybody trying to get back to his universe to try to stop it, I felt like, oh, this is the end scene of, like, the first Last of Us, where it's just like, fuck the world, and what good can happen to it. I just want to save that one person in my life.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, that's true.
My whole planet,
that's a good point.
My whole planet would be zapped away, but at least I'll have my dad for a couple hours.
Yeah, I mean, Joe and Miles might as well team up together and be like, hey, look,
let's just do
the
it.
World. We're gonna go for the ones we love.
Wait. To put a bow on it, right? I was listening to the radio before we started. They said that they want to get Pedro Pascal to be in the next one. In
Stop.
any sort of role. They said he could be Spider Dad or anything he wants to be. We just want him to be in the next movie.
You picked the character. You picked.
And then he has a baby, just like Peter Parker has his baby, who have a baby that looks like Yoda or whatnot. You know,
he's like, he's in his contract from now on. I can never be a father again. Just like Dwayne the Rock Johnson can't lose in a movie apparently. Like Pedro is like, I can't be a father again. But see, it's interesting how they. So that goes to again Tom Holland's Spider-Man, because I've always said this, right? Like I think contractually or something, they can't mention Uncle Ben. He has no Uncle Ben. Like it's just Aunt May. They never say he in the first movie. It was just, well, you know what happened to her. I can't leave her like this. Like there's no mention of Uncle Ben, no grave, no nothing. It's Aunt May that gets killed.
I don't think it has anything to do with the contract. I think what happens is that everyone like the movie thought like me and thought like, dude, we already know who Uncle Ben is. Let's just skip that shit and just say, hey, we got an Aunt May, which is why it blew a lot of people's mind that they killed off Aunt May, which is probably something they had planned from the very beginning. But they were saying if we had Uncle Ben there, people, every single movie we saw from Homecoming, when I was like, okay, this is the movie where he dies. Okay, not that movie. Okay, this is the movie where he dies. Okay, this is the movie where he dies. No one really was look like, you know what I mean? That's too predictable. Uncle Ben, if I ask someone down the street, if I Uncle Ben, who is Uncle Ben? And then the first thing will be out,
a black man on the rice box.
The man who dies in Peter Parker's arms. That is it. He people can't say it like he says, with great power comes great responsibility, and he dies afterwards. That's it. I felt like the movies kind of was just already knew that we know too much about it, which is why even the last Batman movie did not do the whole thing with the parents thing. I think studio execs be like, yeah, we know the origin. Yeah, my grandma knows the origin. Like, you know what I mean? Like I don't know the contract though.
I say that though, that when Aunt May died, it would have been her next to Uncle Ben. They at least would acknowledge that he's dead and they're both gone. They did not do that either. It's something. I bet you it's something. That's why he can't stand alone in the MCU movie. It can't just be a Spider-Man movie. It's Spider-Man and Iron Man. It's Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. It's not just Spider-Man.
I figured, let's see, okay, that's how you look at it. I look at it like this. You're talking about a teenager, right? You're talking about a teenage kid who has an auntie. The majority of, I know everyone got aunties at different ages, but I'm sorry. But when I was a teenager, like my aunties were just more like in their mid to late 30s, right? Or maybe in their 40s. So like I think, if I had to guess, right? They might or might not have even been married. You know what I mean? So so maybe there was a Ben, and then like, you see what I'm saying? They had to have a young Aunt May, and then I don't know. I think they were trying to make it not only realistic in a sci-fi movie, you know what I mean, but like try to make it more like grounded, I guess is the word I'm looking for.
Or a man crawling on walls. I get you, man. I hear you.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
But
to your thing about contractually, I think that's why we didn't see like nothing with Tom Holland. To your point, we saw the whole thing with the thing from Venom with the storekeeper. We saw that, which I appreciate. That was awesome. You know what I mean? But they could not show the Tom Holland stuff because then now that's MCU would have to get paid
MCU money, and they can't afford that.
Yeah.
Right?
But there was a mention. You heard the mention
I'm not going to be the guy in the chair. I was like, hilarious.
No, not that. No.
That's the one. Oh, and Doctor Strange and
Doctor Strange and then little dweeb who messed up the universe from playing.
Yeah, I couldn't believe. I was surprised they even said specifically Doctor Strange. Like again, contractually, I thought they were going to be like that wizard and that one Spider-Man. Like I didn't think they were going to get specific to names. Like I thought that was kind of interesting with that actually.
Well, when they said they said Doctor Strange, but then they were like, there's a strange doctor or something. Like it was like, because it wasn't like a strict name. It was like a play on like the strange and being like a strange doctor. So it was like,
I thought he said he
said Doctor Strange, but then he questioned it. He questioned when they said it, and he was like, a strange.
No, Gwen did. Gwen said that.
Gwen said
that.
Yeah.
So I'm saying that's what took it out of it. It wasn't like if you say the Hulk is the Hulk. Yeah. It's not like you can make a pun on the name afterward.
I hear you. I still I felt that was a specific reference to the MCU, just like with the, I don't want to be the Asian friend saying I don't want to be the guy in the chair. I was like, that's the close thing you're probably gonna get to Tom Holland. With that a little bit on the nose. But I thought
that was kind of funny.
And I was like, and I mean, I was like, is this gonna be his other? I mean, is he gonna turn into the Hobgoblin? Because doesn't his friend turn into the Hobgoblin?
Oh, Peter Parker's.
Well,
friend,
this could be his version, though. That's what I'm saying.
I don't know. I guess. I mean, he's the only one that knows his identity. Sure. I mean, but Miles is dealing with another serious issue at the moment. But you're right. I guess as soon as he can deal out that issue, then he can.
Long term. I say once he solves the spot problem, I mean, he's gonna need a Hobgoblin.
I hope they don't do a long term with this. See, there's a problem. I mean, there's a thing called oversaturating something, and I feel like they should end this trilogy and then be done with it and just like let it be. You know what I mean? Because you can ruin a franchise by just making too much of something.
No, I'm like, this could be a movie trilogy, but there's going to be a Disney Plus series.
Well, not on this, maybe spin-offs. Sure.
This is Sony. This is not, so they can't do that. But I mean, to your point, I mean, there's a whole universe of Spider people. So Gwen could get her own thing. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like Issa Rae's character could get her own thing. Spider-Punk could get his, you know what I'm saying? And then they can also intermingle, you know, like Miguel can pop up for a little bit. You know, Miles can pop up for a little bit. And keep it moving. But they've opened themselves up to a range of spinoffs. And which I thought, and also I think they did the multiverse extremely well. I think Jamani, when you went and posted that, we're like, I know what the multiverse is supposed to look like.
Yeah.
I was like, this is far better. And I said, from a Spider-Man character perspective, I still say this series is far better than any of the live actions, like hands down. Like
absolutely.
I was like, damn. And I was and then
even when like you had the therapy scene, like it was just like a brief clip as he was running through, and he was like, yeah. And then I was with I moved in with my uncle, and he's like, let me guess, he died, didn't he?
And then, that was perfect. I love that.
The problem with that is, for me, and I think I told Chris, like, I saw 10 minutes of scenes from this movie like last week. Like, they were advertising the shit out of this movie, and I
try to stay away from it. Especially, I saw there was one about when they were showing Indian Spider-Man. Yes. I stayed away from it. I'm glad I did, because the whole said chai tea. Chai means tea, so you're saying tea. You won't hear me say coffee with a room full of cream. I was like, I died. That was probably the funniest part in the entire freaking movie. Was like just him saying, yeah, I said being Spider-Man is so easy. I just come out, I'm naturally buff. And I was like, oh, so yeah, I stayed away, man. I think I saw the first version that they show with his mother, when his mother talks to him. And I think that was it. I stayed, because everything else, because I think I saw the date of it being early June. And I was like, oh, that's so soon. I'm done watching all the trailers. So every time I would see like someone was like, oh, trailer reaction, I'm like, oh, staying away from that one.
Yeah.
So I knew nothing other than all these Spider-Mans were chasing him. And I was like, why are they chasing him? And I was like, damn, it comes out in 2 months. I got to stay away.
I mean, it's 2 hours worth of movie. So like, and some of those scenes they did just for the trailer. They, you know, like, so it was like some misdirects in certain scenes. But like some of those scenes were like Spider-Cat was in the trailer, and I was like, damn it. And I was like, to see that, I mean, it would have been nice to be completely surprised by that. So I was like, you're doing a little bit too much, you know, with the advertising, that you're giving away some gems that people might be like, oh, you got to see the movie because there's some wild stuff that's going on here. Nicolas Cage's character, and Spider-Pig, like they weren't in the chase, like they weren't really like, but then all of a sudden they're there at the end when Gwen is like, we got to mount up and go help, you know, Miles. So I was kind of disappointed in that. Like, I thought it would have been nice to see them there.
They weren't going to be part of the society, which, if anything, vice versa to what you're saying. I was surprised that Penny was part of the society, because Miguel stated like why can't, it's like, why can't we get Gwen? It's, and when Jessica was asking, like, why can't we get Gwen? It's like, you know why? Because she contributed to all the mess, all of them, from, like you said, Spider-Pig, Spider-Noir or whatnot. So that's why they weren't in it, and that's why Gwen had to come and chase them down. I'm assuming that maybe they only had Penny I guess talk Peter out of it. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe
All right,
or maybe Miguel is just a sucker for girls that cry. So he's like, I can't stand a crying girls, and yeah. You can put here's a bracelet. Here's a bracelet. You know what I mean?
because I was surprised. I was surprised by that. But the chase was awesome. I mean, I was like, I think that's the kind of something you can only do in animation. Like live action would be extremely difficult to put that together.
That I'm trying to think how expensive that would be for one. I mean, yeah, I don't. Yeah, you know, and that was another problem I had with this. If I can call it, at times if there's such thing, there's times when stuff was moving too fast that it was hard to catch up. And because even though it was visually appealing to watch these different characters being different, like different animation styles and whatnot, at times when you got all of this coming at you at once,
Yeah,
I was just like, yo, good thing I'm not prone to seizures. Because I was like, no, and I'm not joking. Like, if none of y'all seen this movie, I mean, if y'all watching a spoiler thing, I'm assuming y'all watched it, you know, or maybe y'all just curious. Just if y'all know someone that's prone to seizures, you might want to wait until it gets on the smaller screen, and then maybe I'm not even joking. You laugh, I'm serious.
No,
You might want to adjust your
what's the
your
Incredibles?
video a
The
little
Incredibles 2. I mean, they've done that for a few movies. To your
Yeah.
point, I mean, they've done that to be like, hey, don't sue us if you all of a sudden go and start having problems.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's overwhelming. It can't be
It
overwhelming.
was, and I got to say, even the thing so when the first time I saw it, I was sitting pretty close to the damn screen, and as beautiful as even watching like the scenes, even with like Spider-Punk, I'll use him for example, because at one point my eyes did feel a little uncomfortable. Was like when they showed him, you know, because he was like kind of his art, like his animation style. When they showed him, was like, said, yeah, man, I'm always just cool, and he's moving around. At times, like watching that, and then the contrast of stuff, like my eyes were doing like some trippy shit, and it was just like at one point I had to close my eyes, like, and then readjust, and I was like, oh, and I was fine after that. But you know what I mean? It's just so.
You also saw
I was
it
also sitting really close to the screen though too. I was also,
and you saw it in IMAX, so it was big as fuck. I'm saying, so it's a lot of things working against you. Like, I mean, like in that sense.
Yeah. Can we talk about how irresponsible both Peter Parker and Jessica are? They're some horrible parents.
Right.
How is it? Yeah, he was right. He said, "I'm an irresponsible father." Damn right you are. I mean, I appreciate them putting, like, I guess the Easter egg with the little girl, because Jemima, you might not know this, but that little girl grows up to become Spider-Girl. She inherits the same powers as her dad. Most of it, most of the powers and whatnot. And so that little girl was Mayday. So her name is May, like right after, like named after his Aunt May. Mayday Parker. So but anyway, and then Jessica being pregnant, which I was just like, you shouldn't. You should be on maternal leave right now. I don't know why Miguel don't give you no benefits. Like, I don't.
You know who her baby daddy is, or husband? Her husband. Excuse me. I mean, do you know who the daddy is? Is that significant?
I don't think so. Well, they did it. I think she's just supposed to be a variant of Jessica, Jessica Drew. Because the other one, for one, they did. Well, I mean, some people are probably going to be upset because I guess some people are like, oh, they did a race swap. You know what I mean? Because she's, you know, because the Jessica Drake that Drew that everyone knows is white or whatever. But the different variants, like, I mean, when they show like everyone surrounding Miles to kind of talk him into like staying put, I could have sworn I saw the actual Jessica Drew in the background. But now I don't remember her being pregnant, to be honest with you.
Or just having a husband in general. Like, I don't know. I mean, she said my husband wants to be a surprise, so I thought maybe the husband was important. Like,
I'm not familiar, to be honest. I never really followed her like that. I mean, wait, is she in the back? That's her right here, by the way. That's her. But they changed her, and she, you know,
did she ride a
black girl on a motorcycle? Yeah.
Did she ride a motorcycle in the comic books?
No, but I guess it makes sense. If she's pregnant, do you expect her to be running and
look, man, we all should be equal, and all should be able to do our own web slinging. I was like, I did. So when he thinks he's come back to his own world, and Miles is trying to tell his mom, "Hey, I'm Spider-Man," and she was like, "What?" I thought that was the spot. That's the spot put him in some kind of dimension So he thought he was back home, but he was actually trapped by him. That's what I first thought, especially when Gwen was right there and then she couldn't see him. And she's like, no, he's not here. And I was like, it was like, no shit, he's on a different Earth. I was like, oh shit. Like I didn't get that at first. When I first saw that. So I was like, oh, it's like, oh, it all goes back to the 42 Spider because it must have changed his DNA. And I was like, oh, but I was like, oh man, that's amazing. Yeah. I was like, awesome. I want to see where this goes.
I thought that was very trippy. I thought that was good. I think, to be honest, if people were just sat there long enough, they would probably got it. The thing is, though, they did a good job distracting you, being like, be careful. Miguel's like right outside, like going to try to stop Miles for him stopping his father. Meanwhile, you're like anticipating his father getting like saving the day and getting killed that way or whatnot. So you're distracted with all the stuff that you're not even thinking, like, which I thought was a great Easter egg. I didn't catch it the first time I watched it, but it was the second time, especially if you watch the first film, because there was a lot of callbacks to the first film, which I was like, oh, that was very clever. Like in the first film, Peter Parker, when he goes into the wrong world and he goes to Miles's world, he said, well, this is another Spider-Man. It's like, this is the whole Comic-Con thing. And then Miles is like, what's Comic-Con?
Yeah.
Because there's no Comic-Con in that universe. And then when she went to his mother in 42, she said, what did she say? She's like, is this part of like the Comic-Con thing?
That's
and
right.
And I was like, that's for a lot of people that people were like, oh yeah, that's because there's a Comic-Con in this world, but not in his world. I was like, nice callback. Him being on the punching bag thing was a callback to the first. That was a callback
to the first movie. Jamon, you gotta see the first.
You gotta see the first one.
Even to the point where the headphone thing, when Gwen first pops out of her dimension and she's like, "Hey, Miles, like you want to get out of here?" That was in the last movie. Like, but the way they did the montage, you think he was swinging around and having a good old time, and he just like falls back on his bed. He's like, and I'm Spider-Man. And then the thing opens up and you hear her voice, but you don't realize that was like all the shit that happened that got him to this moment. And like now we're going back to the first movie and we're filling up the gap that you didn't know. And now we're starting this movie. And I'm like, oh shit. Even with the bagel. You hit me with the bagel.
Yeah.
That was in the first movie. Like that's the thing in the first movie. I was like, damn it! Like they had thoughts. They're like, this is all connected. I mean, it was awesome with the way they did that. I am looking for these two getting together. I did like when she was like, did she say when Peter and Gwen get together it doesn't work out, or when Spider-Man?
She said Spider-Man. I definitely caught it on the second time. She says anytime that Gwen and Spider-Man gets together, it doesn't work out well. So
like if he stops being Spider-Man, then then they could be together. Much like, which I didn't like in this movie, they gave you the out. Her father's alive because he quit. So that's how they're gonna save Miles' dad, is to get him to quit. I looking back on it, they shouldn't have did that in this movie. Because now it's
they shouldn't what? Oh, got her father to quit.
They shouldn't have made that. They shouldn't have made it that out. Like because now I know how they're gonna save his dad. Like I wanted to.
No. I thought that was very important. No, because here's a problem. She doesn't realize it. She's happy right now that my father saved. But guess what? He was supposed to become captain, and she's not, which means her world is now going to collapse. She doesn't realize it because remember how he's even not captain in the first place, because he caught her. How did he catch her? Because the whole thing with Miguel, when they found that vulture that was not from a world.
All right.
So all these anomalies happened that made him find his daughter to like threaten to arrest her, for him to throw his badge away. And because he's no longer captain, and because his life is no longer under threat, just like in India or whatnot, that universe, I think will go. My prediction is that we're going to see that her universe slowly start to unravel. I think that's why
she has to go back and kill her dad. She has to go back and tell him to become captain again. No, she don't have to kill him. She has to.
There's others. Yeah, there's other
stuff. There's a captain that has to die, so who's next in succession could die, couldn't it?
Was it like Final Destination? Yeah. I mean,
it just has to. No, I mean, Jamani's got a point. They don't have to be like related. I mean, they just have to be a captain. I mean, Amazing Spider-Man was just a captain.
And this is where I think this is why if they go this route, they could just ignore everything that Miguel says. If they bring in Madam Web, right? If anyone knows who Madam Web is like the all-seeing.
She's like the
Spider
Oracle.
Queen. She's essentially, and she knows all. She knows of every origin. She knows of every single spider existence that exists in the world or whatnot. And she also she goes through all kinds of multiverse. She's insane and whatnot, right? So if they involve her in this next one, if they do, right, she could set the world straight without even necessarily having people necessarily die. She's the only one that could do it. But Gail was just doing it from just more of I know how the world is supposed to be or whatever. This is the order, the national order of things that should be. Madam Web can just go around all of that crap. Because she's like the goddess of, you know what I mean?
All right.
So I don't know if they'll do that. I mean, that's saying I don't know. I mean, to your point, maybe they will have to go and kill him, kill somebody. You know what I mean?
Well, I thought the reason I thought about the whole job thing because also they changed his name. He's now Jefferson Morales, not Jefferson Davis. I did notice that.
What's that?
His dad. They changed his dad's name to avoid being the name of the Confederate leader. So they changed his name back to they changed his name to his last name to Morales. So which they never said, but they made sure.
I didn't even think about that. Jefferson. I did not even think about that.
I didn't either. Someone had to tell me.
I did not.
No, someone had to tell me. And then they're like, why would they do that? Like, how did they not Google the name and figure out, who had the name? And then I saw it on a Honest Trailer or pitch meeting. He pointed it out. But then they made a point of changing it in this movie. No one called him by his last name for the record, but it was clearly on his chest. So they're like Morales. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. Also,
I don't get that. Like,
no, his last name is Davis, and his world is Davis.
Now,
you're talking about Rest in Power.
No, I mean, no. In his world now, his name is Morales.
What you talking about the cap? You're talking about the cop?
Yes.
No, the cop's name is Davis, which is why his brother's name is also Davis. His name is Aaron Davis.
Go back.
I did. I watched it twice.
I'm telling you, I saw it's Morales now. It's Morales now. Now, before it was Davis. I hear you. Now they changed it to Morales in his world.
Were people okay? All right. Are you saying were people really?
I'm saying I didn't get that because it does say. I thought it said Jeff Davis Morales. Like it had 3 names or something like that, and it said like husband.
So
husband, hero, father, or something like that.
So he's talking about the mural. I'm not talking. That could be on the mural. I'm saying in his world, on his chest, it's Morales now. It's Morales now.
They could just put an A in there, just like when people say Michael B. No, seriously, Michael B. Jordan, right? Michael B. Jordan. People are not thinking about Michael Jordan at that point because you put a B in. How crazy how a letter changes everything. Okay. Like
I'll tell you what they did. I'm telling you what they did. Like, and again, they made a point of not, no one calling him Officer Morales or Officer anything. I mean, I think they made a point of that.
I mean, you could argue that why isn't Miles' last name Davis, so he would just be known as Miles Davis.
Also true. So they're like, this fixes a lot of problems. But
maybe that was probably done on purpose. Maybe they did that on purpose. Maybe his parents were like, oh, Miles Davis, yeah. But
they did. But I mean, so maybe they were thinking that way. Anyway, I'm just saying, I noticed that because again, my friend Carl and I were talking about it, and again, it wasn't like I was aware. He's like, David, they should have known that, but they did fix it in his universe. His the badge says Morales. I mean, we haven't seen his driver's license, which he don't have because they don't drive and they live in New York City and they're not leaving, which I thought was hilarious. I thought that was hilarious. I loved the family. I love the family stuff. I thought maybe his obsession with Gwen went a bit far. Like, I mean, it's a good thing that she's into him too, or she would be pulling out a restraining order. Because that's a lot of pictures, bro. Like you need he can't be that hard up. I mean, I'm sure he has options. I mean,
I understand it from, to be honest, I kind of understand more on her side of why she really likes him rather than him necessarily liking her, only in the sense that like there was so many girls at the school. I mean, I know you got your favorite or whatever, but I'm thinking like, okay, the girl leaves. He goes with another girl. At least with her, they put the whole backstory as far as just her kind of being like kind of the outcast, and she had this friend named Peter and whatnot. And then she was out of it, and then she met a guy that was kind of just a dweeby, but just really charming and whatnot. You know what I mean? I kind of understood that. Like no one understood her. Her father didn't understand. Her bandmates never understood her. You know what I mean? I got that, but to your point, he was kind of a little bit kind of stalker-esque.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
hey, Jamani, if you go back and watch the first movie, he had girls calling his name before he was even Spider-Man. Like, I mean, he was just walking down the street, they're like, hey, Miles, da 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 da. Like, I mean, he was fine. Like, he was socially acceptable. You know what I'm saying? So this whole Gwen is all I got is a bit much.
No, I was like, I'm like, the movie is long for a reason because he left his universe. He said, F it, and just jumped into the portal and said, I'm all about her. And then I have to fight any and every Spider-Man to get back to save my dad, to ruin all of every multiverse. Right?
Because
he didn't know this though. He did not know any of this. He saw Gwen was in trouble. He didn't know what she was in trouble about, but she was really concerned. And he could either go with her or he can be grounded for 2 months. He's like, yeah, I'm following homegirl here.
You see this girl in the suit? I'm out.
I'm out.
He left.
He's like, you can't ground Spider-Man.
I was like, what? Spider-Man.
I want to be like the Juggernaut. I'm just like, what you trying to do? I'm the Juggernaut.
No, they are adorable together. I mean, I'm happy. I'm gonna say it's a bit much on his side, but this could have been a Gwen movie. Like to your point, Jamani, like if you just see the first one, this could have been the Spider-Gwen movie that she meets this guy named Miles and she's into him and he's into her and she don't know they're gonna get together, but she's gonna go save him because she's the beginning and end of this movie. I mean, so I like it really.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, you get her whole backstory, her father, all that shit. Like, you don't need none of that if this is a Miles movie. You know what I'm saying? Like I mean, they go deep into her background. I know more about her and her dad's relationship than Miles and his dad, really. I mean, from this movie standpoint. Really.
Yeah, I know more about them than I knew because I'm like when the uncle knocked Miles out, I was like, what? Where's this? Like I didn't know anything. I was totally lost on that part at the end. But I must say his whole family, him playing the mother against the father or whatever, I was like, I didn't understand any of this family stuff because I was like, hold up, where did they do this at? Because I'm like, she's like, you can go, but be clear that you'll be grounded when you get back. I was like, so you're worried that something could possibly happen, and you just go, and they're of a certain age, they're in their teens, and it's just like, yeah. And then the father comes, he's like, you did what?
I like
because it was like she was in his room.
I like the gender swap with that. To your point, I think the mom was more open to the idea that he may be out there doing something, making another Miles Morales. And it was the dad who was like, hey, that shit's not okay. Like, I thought that was kind of funny. Because usually dad would be like, yes, like he has a girl. I don't give a damn what she looks like. I was like, I'm just happy he has a woman. So let's let this.
Yeah, she would probably like more if she knew Spanish, maybe though. So if she knew Spanish, So
she was like, I don't think.
It's like, oh wow, we're going by first names. Wow.
Well, see, that's the whole.
All she said was like Poppy or whatever. I was like, that's all the Spanish that you guys have.
Remember, they were doing a lot of Spanglish. They did a lot of Spanglish. So
the father didn't speak any Spanish at all. It was only her.
You know what though, Jamani, I've seen that. I've seen that. I've seen that in my family. My cousin is married to a girl from India or whatnot, and when it comes to their kids, like it's just those two talking, and he knows like a couple words. He knows a couple words and certain phrases. That is it. Like it's Sonya that does all the talking after that.
I'll leave that to y'all. I'll leave that to you.
Yeah. So I found that kind of charming though. I found that kind of charming, and especially even when she's like, you got to be in Spanish, and he was like, oh, because you saw his face. He was like, oh, she ain't gonna like that. Like wifey ain't gonna like that. And did you notice? This is how great the visual was. When she snapped her fingers, did you notice like they did a little like a pop, and it was the symbol of the Puerto Rican flag.
I did not.
If you watch that, well, I mean, I guess when it comes on video, you can pause it. But when she snaps, the Puerto Rican is like a pop, and then it's like and like the emblem of the color, the Puerto Rican emblem flag with like the star and everything.
Oh, so
And I was like, oh, after that, she's like, you know, when she was like talking to the Spanish after she found out she got a B, it's like, I was like, okay. I was like, okay, you guys are hitting all the artistic buttons right now. Oh, yeah.
I thought it was funny how like even in that conversation, like the guidance counselor was like, "Oh, well, you guys are immigrants, but Puerto Rico's part of America." I was just like, even like just the idiosyncrasies of like when he was in the bodega, and it was like, yeah, you know, ATM machine, you know, that's redundant. You know, the machine, the
ATM machine.
Machine is the machine.
I love so, but the first one has that kind of stuff too. Like it's the dialogue is catchy. It's still Spider-Man-esque comedy. You know what I'm saying? Like from him, and like and I like you say, he's a kid struggling to maintain his school life, maintain his real life, and save the world while he's picking up 2 cakes for his dad's promotion. And it's like and it doesn't go right, but he does the best he can. Like and I was like and that's awesome. Like it's still awesome.
And I didn't even figure this out until like Jamani even just said something just now. But the whole thing with the whole immigrant thing, I love the fact that they did not try to, as very diverse this movie was. They could have easily just done the whole cheap things like, man, you don't understand what it's like to be a Black Puerto Rican kid from the projects, or Gwen say, man, being a female spider. Like they did not have to do any of that, and they just appreciate themselves of who they were. Even with the Indian Spider-Man, everything they did, it was just, you were just enjoying the moment. And and even though obviously you saw their different cultures with different music and stuff that was going on, but it was not trying to be preachy or whatnot. It was just straight up, how about we just enjoy all of these characters from Miguel, everyone, all of them, you know what I mean? And other than maybe like one little exchange that Miles had when Miguel said, "Oh yeah, I speak Spanish too," or whatever. And then like that was like, there wasn't none of that. It wasn't none of that like preachy crap. You know what I mean? So it's kind of refreshing, because that a movie like this, that would have been so easy to do, and they didn't. You know. So
I felt the essay story was there. They didn't go as long as they could have, but I feel like the essay story was there because she saw 2 minorities and just assumed that they had a project immigrant story, and they're like, that's actually not what we are. So and then the Indian,
right. But that was it. But like it was that, and then but they quickly moved on.
But then the Indian Spider-Man was like, don't bring that Western, something about Western stereotype. Like
he said here's some traffic, here's a track, and this is what the British stole. The British stole from. I was like, I clapped at that moment. But I was like, okay, so they threw some stuff in. And I mean, Spider-Punk kind of did the same thing to me. He was talking about like the UK war. It's like, yeah, it says, I don't care about the bureaucracy. The bureaucracies, they're a bunch of fascists. And so they okay, so they sprinkled it in there, but it did not like, it did not feel like they were trying to do a bunch of messaging.
Except for the Black Lives Matter fucking pin that he had on his book bag. That I was like, okay, let's go down this road. I'm like, so if you got your
did he?
Yes,
I missed that. Did he really have that
prominently when he's like, hey guys, like when he's holding up his backpack, Black Lives Matter on his backpack, top right corner, and I was like, okay, so where's your pride rainbow? Where's your hashtag Me Too? Where's your Asian hate? Because you got an Asian roommate, so I'm like, where's your stop Asian hate?
They had a handicapped spider person.
Also, they had the handicapped spider person. I don't know if that's canon or not, but I was like, oh shit, I want swinging while black. Like I thought that was gonna be a thing at some point, but I was like they didn't go that far. But I was like, all right. But I was like, there's messaging, Chris. Let's not do that. It was as much as it could be.
So, but you had to look for it. See, like I didn't even see it.
I saw it. I mean, I got an eye for these things. So I was like.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, you do. Because I saw it twice and I missed it both times.
You ready for this one? Damn. The white savior complex. At the end of the movie, it's the white woman who gets the white man to gather up the other people
Oh goodness.
to go save the minority.
From the other minorities?
But the other hey, to be like,
How do you know that? No, but how do we know that that's going to be the case? Because if you remember too, Miles also did this to the chains that he was in, as in he was about to break out. So he could be saving his own damn self. I'm telling you, her world is going to be collapsing, and it's going to be the black man that's going to have to help save his.
you want to go down this road? So you got the black man.
Yeah.
Like, I gotta say the white woman.
How did the first movie end?
The white woman.
The first movie, it was the black man that saved the day. The white man tried to, and then the black man was like, "Nope,
I got
sorry,
this.
white
I got
man.
this, sir. I got
this.
I hear you, but he ends up with the white woman. I'm just saying, somebody's gonna be like, even Mama was like, she don't speak Spanish. That's code for she white. Let's not do this. You know that's what that was. You know that's what that was.
I don't.
Like, I want a mama. I want a sister-in-law that we can share hot combs. Let's not do this.
Well,
like, I don't know.
What I'm saying is, I agree with David because I'm saying he doesn't speak Spanish. So I'm like, she can't say she doesn't speak Spanish and mean it in a like as another Puerto Rican type of way. It would be
speak
he
Spanish.
doesn't speak Spanish. So she's directing it as subject to her.
That's right. She's like, this is not what I expected for my beautiful son.
No. I think no. She's doing a typical mom thing where she just thinks her kid is always going to be her baby, and all of a sudden she sees a girl and she gets threatened by that girl and being like, that girl is going to take my baby away from me, and it's going to be war between me and that pussy. You know what I mean?
That's I'm not saying that's not there, but there's also this white girl disrespecting me and calling me by my first name and my husband. That's just how those people are. And she don't speak Spanish. There's a little bit.
And she's wearing this, and she's in the kid's bedroom wearing the kid's jacket.
White girls, just disrespectful. Also, she was probably too busy shooting book 2 that she was like, I can only do a couple voices because I gotta go over here and fight Monet. And she's like, damn it, because that is her.
Who are you talking about?
Mama.
Oh, the mom. Oh, the mom. Oh, I thought you meant Gwen. I was like, no. She was in.
Mama.
Wait till my mom. Yeah. Yo, the voice acting in this was awesome. That's a good reminder. Great. Oscar Isaac as Miguel. He's always playing every like these brutish, like I'm going to be like really depressed all the time characters or whatnot, like Moon Knight, and then now this and whatnot.
Not getting season 2. I told you. Which is not getting a season 2. I told you.
You don't know that. I mean, now that they have a Jonathan Majors issue, I mean, they might need something to fill in.
To fill the gap.
Something. Yeah, man. I'm just saying, yeah, I thought all of that was great. Like I said, the Donald Glover thing, surprise. I mean, the Venom scene was awesome. And even I started thinking like, okay, in the third film, are we gonna have like a lot of crossover with live action stuff? But then I was like, more thought about it, I was like, you know what? They shouldn't, because I love how this looks by itself. And I hope they don't do that. Maybe they can sprinkle some of it in, and then maybe we do get like maybe Toby or Andrew here, or maybe not. I don't know. I'd be fine with neither or, but I did appreciate that little Venom reference. Probably more with the Lego thing. The Lego thing where it's like we saw Peter Parker like doot, doot, and you say doot, doot, with Miguel coming out, shit, you know. So
I was actually to the point of cross. It's interesting that they highlighted Venom and not Morbius, since Morbius is the one that brought the Vulture and Morbius together as to imply the Sinister Six is going to be put together. So it's like it's interesting how like they didn't mention that. And then the multiverse issue. Once you bring in multiverse, once you even mention Doctor Strange and that other guy, then you're kind of connecting it to Kang the Conqueror and what he's doing. Like it's like again, that's MCU stuff. So they're contractually they probably.
But at the same time, I know a lot of people that did not see Morbius, but I know pretty much everyone that likes comic books. So majority of people saw Venom. Not everybody saw Morbius. You see what I'm saying?
I hear you.
So at least with Venom, that was better. Like for example, like what would they do more if they showed Tyrese with Morbius? I would probably not maybe understood the reference if it wasn't for me like seeing other previous Morbius. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, that nigga was in it. Like because that movie's so forgettable. If they put characters that was in Morbius, I don't know. A lot of people would just be like, it'll just go like.
I just thought. See, when I saw Danny Glover, Donald Glover. I was thinking
he ain't getting too old for this shit.
My bad. I was actually thinking the fact that he was in Homecoming. Like I didn't even know that he was the foundation for Miles Morales originally. I didn't even know that. So
but he was too. So when he was in Community, he kept trying to like he started throwing little Easter egg stuff. Even if you watch the show Community, he would always wear like Spider-Man shirts. Basically, he kept trying to like talk to like Ivy Reed, and Stan Lee and be like, hey, I can be Black Spider-Man. I can be the Black Spider-Man. This, you know what I mean? But then it went on for years before they decided to do like try to have live action stuff. So he became too old, essentially. He became too old to become Miles. So what they did instead for him was when they did Spectacular Spider-Man, which they put his character, the really small Spider-Man that you saw that was talking to Miles. Yeah. He was from the Spectacular Spider-Man. Donald Glover voiced Miles Morales in that show. He voiced him in that show that people love so much. But so yeah, and then in Homecoming they made him like Aaron Davis, like before he became Prowler. So that was like an Easter egg. So they made him that in that very brief scene. And then this one, I guess it was just like they're like, yo, he's this version's Prowler or whatnot. And he's like, hey, what's up? What's up? And then it's like
I love it. I thought it was good. Original Spider-Woman was Black. Also, Jessica Drew was pregnant in the comics. Thank you. So there is
was she?
Apparently.
Okay, maybe it's a version. I'm not sure.
I was like, I really don't know. But anyway, come on, we gotta wrap this up and get to Montana. Chris, anything else?
Montana. Great movie. I cannot wait to see how this one ends. I have a feeling that Miles, the other Miles, let me say the Dark Miles, the evil Miles, I feel like he's going to turn somewhat good. I feel like he's going to, like Miles, like they're going to both somehow, like he's going to right the wrongs. I think this is how it ends. This is my prediction of the third film. Somehow they're going to be able to rewind the clock, and he's going to make it where the Miles with the braids is the one that gets bitten by the spider, which you do see the Miles in the braids in the beginning of the movie. I don't know if anyone paid attention to this, but when Spot was giving his origin tale, he saw everything etched out. He says, that spider was from 42. And they says, it was supposed to stay in our world. And they showed like the classroom scene, I guess, because one of the scientists, Miss Octavius or whatnot, they showed this kid with braids, black kid, like looking up, like studying stuff in class. Everyone else kind of looked bored. They showed the other Miles, and they showed like a spider on the ceiling or whatnot. He says, but he's you know, and then before he warped out into a different universe, I feel like it's going to be corrected that the evil Miles will be the Spider-Man, and then Miles will just it's going to have like the ending of No Way Home, in the sense of like everyone forgot, you know how with him was like everyone forgot about Spider-Man, except in this one, Miles will remember that he was Spider-Man, but he no longer has powers and whatnot. Maybe no one, like he doesn't have, like his family is like, and everyone else don't know who Spider-Man is, but everything is well in the world and whatnot. Because remember, in that world too, his uncle was doing bad and whatnot, but Spider-Man looked like he had everything under control. So he might just not be involved with Spider-Man. Spider-Man just saves the day or whatnot. So I don't know. I feel like that's how they're going to end it and whatnot. And then all of a sudden, another girl transfers over to school, and maybe it's a girl that looks like Gwen, or maybe it will be Gwen. I don't know. Who knows? So, you know,
I think original Miles not being Spider-Man frees them up to date, right? Because like if Spider-Man and Gwen don't work out, well, I'm not Spider-Man, I'm just Miles. So I think that opens them up to being something. If he has to give up his powers and the 42 Spider to put the universe.
You know what? Good point, because she did say, like you said, thanks for bringing it up, because she did say, it says in the other universe, Gwen hooks up with Spider-Man, but if he's not Spider-Man, good, yep. There you go.
Dude, man, who loves her and keeps on painting. So you work on that. But Jemani, anything else for this universe?
I agree with both of what you guys said. Makes sense. Especially with the whole Madam Web coming to fix everything, and you know, she'll probably come in fourth quarter and doctor everything up like you guys were just saying a minute ago. I just hope I don't have to wait 5 years to get
Next year. They already announced it. Next
Yeah,
year.
yeah,
It's
they
coming
were
out next
working
year.
on these concurrently. I do
Yep.
believe.
Okay, so we going back to the future stuff. All right, that's what I'm saying.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
I know, right? Yeah.
So this was actually supposed to be out months ago. They actually pushed it back a couple of times. So it was supposed to be out way before now.
Why David? Why is that David?
Morbius? I think it's that bullshit Morbius. They're like, no, it was.
Oh, I didn't know if it was that or they're waiting for Craven or what. I don't
No,
know.
I think. I do know. I think it was more. I think it was a combination of Morbius and the contracts with the MCU and shit. But anyway, they pushed back either way because this was supposed to come out in October, and they were like, never mind, June. And I was like, damn. And then like they pushed Morbius back, and I was like, that movie's gonna be garbage. But anyway, they may happen with this.
And as long as it's already in the can, like we don't have any writer strike issues with this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's more editing than anything else, I would imagine, at this point. Because like I said,
that's a good point. I wonder where they're at with production on this. If they're already kind of in post at this moment, because you said they were working on this at the same time as.
Yeah, I swore they were working on it concurrently because this is supposed to be part 1, part 2. Because even when I was like, Terry, this is a first part of an overall story, right? You know what I'm saying? So I think part 2 is already worked out. I mean, for the most part, I do believe. Okay. I do believe, but they're not starting from scratch. Like they're waiting for this movie to be over and they're starting from scratch. I definitely know that.
Yeah. So we got to suffer through Craven first before we get the movie because we all know Craven is going to be amazing.
Yeah, stop it. I was like, Craven with no Spider-Man. What the fuck are we doing, man? I was like, stop it. Stop.
I mean, it worked with Venom. I mean, it kind of worked with Venom.
It did not. It did not. It did not.
You didn't think so?
It's going to make any damn sense because you need Spider-Man.
That sounds like something that should go straight to directly to PlayStation Network.
Possibly. I like that. So that being said, Jamani, let's put it on the schedule. We watched the first one and we will do the first one. And then we can compare and contrast that kind of thing. So I do want to go back. I'm gonna see this movie again one way or the other next weekend. But I want to go back and watch the first one to see how well they really connected it. And because I thought they did a pretty good job. Everyone, thank you for joining us in the chat. Again, if you like on the video, comment on the video, share the video. We will be doing the first Spider-Man animated movie soon in the next coming weeks. But now we're gonna take a trip to Montana. So we're gonna pick up Kim and Stacy and talk about Montana Batman, aka John Dutton.
Kevin Costner.
I was like, Mr. Costner with the I believe
the bodyguard.
He should have had a black woman in this series. Hilarious. That would have been awesome.